What's up, guys? Here with you, FC Wonder Kid, episode 158. Here with my guy, Bretson. How are you?
I am in shock, Alex. I am in shock at the last week of football, and that shock is continuing over. Come on. All of these results so far have not been going the way that we all expected.
True.
But what is football without shock results like what we saw? We have the managerial carousel is continuing to be extra fast. And we've got some major international tournaments coming up. I mean, there's just way too much to process. So much so that I think my whole body, Alex, is like it's hyperventilating. It can't deal with it. I'm getting sick, and that's why I'm in these glasses. That's why I probably look red-eyed and nasty. But bear with me because it's football that's doing it to me, right, Alex? Too much going on.
Oh, mate, it's being phenomenal. And I agree, mate. You said that the managerial carousel, it's going crazy. Xavi out, Poch out, and Allegri out. Could be Erik Ten Hag out too? We were going to see, maybe. But just giving you a heads up, in this episode, we're going to dive in to the FA Cup win, the Champions League final. We're going to talk about Kompany at Bayern Munich. That's a big new news. Hansi Flick at Barcelona, and obviously a bit to Euros with Portugal, with a bit of England maybe. We're going to dive in to the European competitions too. But let us know in the comment section, would you like us in the next podcast to do building the best team of the season of under 23, focus on team building of Euros, Copa America? Let us know the topics that you would like us to talk about in the next podcast. And before we dive into the FA Cup, keep going, Rodrigo Mora. One of the biggest talents of Portugal. Portugal beat in the U17 European Championship, England 4-1 and Spain 2-1. We are gonna win it because of Rodrigo Mora, Giovanni Kenda, João Simões, Gabriel Silva, a lot of talent in this team. Rodrigo Mora will be in Porto's first team next season. 3 goals and 1 assist in 2 games in the competition. Oof, dude. Portugal. I'm really excited with that, Bretson. But yes.
Well, I do have to ask. I don't know the actual mathematics law, but if England beat up on France as bad as they did, and then Portugal beat up on England as bad as they did, what will Portugal do to France?
And
I think
Ryan
it's the transitive property.
Good talent.
Oh, yeah, right.
But I know that these guys ain't ready for what Portugal gonna deliver in this tournament. Okay, this is gonna be an historic because we won the under 17 European Championship with another team with Jota, Florentino Luis, Jetson, and now with this new generation, we seem like we're gonna do it again. But the big question in everyone's mind is Erik Ten Hag going to stay at Man United with this amazing result in the FA Cup? The truth is, Erik Ten Hag in 3 finals at Man United, Erik Ten Hag won 2. Now he's looking at the results and he's saying, give me time. But I don't think Sir Jim Ratcliffe is going to give him this time. Do you agree with me, Bretson?
I do agree with you. And it is crazy to think that he is one of only 2 managers since Sir Alex retired to actually win 2 trophies. But I'm assuming, Alex, you know the other one. There
Obviously.
it is. Yep, Europa League and the Carabao Cup, and Ten Hag's got the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup. But listen, I don't think it's enough. I really don't. And I think you could also see all of the players running around. It was as if they were saying goodbye to Ten Hag. But it is what it is, man. I mean, they showed up on the day. They got it done. They beat Manchester is red for the moment. Erling Haaland ghosted again, but we'll talk about that in a second.
Yes.
And in the end, a win was a win, and they showed up, and it was the first time, I believe, that 2 teenagers, right?
Yes.
Kobbie Mainoo and Alejandro Garnacho scored in an FA Cup final to win the FA Cup final. So a lot of history
Ronaldo
in this
in 2004. A Man United player since Ronaldo. Wow. That's what I mean. Like, you get the feeling that obviously Kobbie Mainoo's ascension, Garnacho's ascension, I do not put the consequence of their ascension to Erik ten Hag being the coach. I think it's honestly inevitable. The talent of Garnacho, the talent of Kobbie Mainoo, the talent of Amad Diallo, that maybe if it was another manager, we would see more than what we see with Erik ten Hag. I honestly think it's inevitable. So people that use that as an argument for Erik ten Hag to stay, I do not agree with that statement. Because we look at the other side. Xavi got sacked from Barcelona. He won a La Liga. And he played more than 15 players were handed their debuts at Barca with Xavi. Yeah. Okay, I don't see that with Ten Hag. Kobbie Mainoo is definitely inevitable, and that's why he's in the England squad. But one thing we gotta say, I think Man United played at the same level as Man City in that game, and the midfield of Man United, Kobbie Mainoo is a starter in the next 5 years for sure. He makes them tick. Amrabat defensively, what a game next to Kobbie Mainoo. Those two controlled the City midfield with a player, Rodri, that it was his first loss in 74 games. This is mad. 475 days. And it wasn't a final against their biggest rival that he got the first loss. It's mad. It's mad what we saw. Big thumbs up to Amrabat. What a game.
And, I got to ask the audience out there, was it more Manchester United showing up? Or was it more Manchester City forgetting to show up? And that's really what it felt like in some respects. I mean, it felt like just not an asterisk, but just kind of like an ellipse on the end of the season. It was like not even caring about being there. The lack of precision, the lack of what we saw from Manchester City to win their 4th consecutive Premier League title, right, did not manifest itself at Wembley, did not manifest itself in an FA Cup final, did not manifest itself in a game where Manchester, for that one moment in time, was on the line, and that was quite shocking. I mean, Erling Haaland now, how many finals is it that he has not scored a goal?
9 semifinals and finals. Erling Haaland has 0 goals and 0 assists. We do believe he's a world-class finisher, but the clutch moment, do we believe Erling Haaland could score a hat-trick in a final, in a World Cup final one day? Or, well, that'll be difficult in Norway. But in a Champions League final, like we saw Kylian Mbappe in the World Cup final do. That's the big doubt, is if Erling Haaland is being compared to Mbappe, compared to the biggest players in the world, he's got to show up in the biggest occasions. And people are starting to have the question marks. And he got a ball on the post. Yes.
He did.
And Garnacho. But you mentioned Garnacho breaking that record. Garnacho and Kobbie Mainoo, first teenagers since Cristiano Ronaldo in 2004 to score in an FA Cup final. And Garnacho this season, 10 goals, 5 assists in all competitions with Man United. He's clearly developed a lot. And I hope next season, at the left wing, there's no chances for another player to be there. But Alejandro Garnacho, okay? He's the player to develop. And Rashford too, obviously. Playing in a counter-attack in which Rashford and McTominay are playing forwards, it worked out. I'm not going to say everybody was expecting, because if you spoke to me before the FA Cup final, I would have said Dortmund had more chances to win the Champions League final than Man United win the FA Cup final. Being honest with you.
I would agree.
So it was a surprising result in which the youth showed up. Mainoo, Garnacho, Amad Diallo, and when he was subbed in, Højlund, he did everything he could to get that W. And
but Alex, who was the glue for the Carrington youth? Who was the glue that put them all together, especially in that beautiful build-up that led to the second goal, the eventual game-winning goal from Kobbie Mainoo? Who was the guy that put it all together? Garnacho to Mainoo. Yeah. It was a wonderful game from him. Yep. Wonderful game.
The captain. Yep. And this is I was planning before this match, before the FA Cup final, any results I was going to talk in this podcast highly about Bruno Fernandes because I think Bruno Fernandes will be one of the best midfielders in Euro 2024. It's not bold to say if you see his form with Portugal. And seeing this assist in the second goal of Man United to Kobbie Mainoo, it was sublime. It was magnifico. And I would say only maybe 3 players in the world could do something like we saw that day. Levels like Lionel Messi vision. That was exquisite what Bruno Fernandes did, okay? The captain of Man United, which is unfortunate. Bruno Fernandes unfortunately has to deal with so many variables at his time with Man United that we do not see the same Bruno Fernandes we see with Portugal. He is world class, and I'm absolutely sure we will be reminded just that this summer with Roberto Martinez, okay? It's gonna go right. Woo!
It also sounds to me like he's taking a page out of Leo DiCaprio's book in Wolf of Wall Street, where he's saying, I know what's coming. If Erik ten Hag's leaving, it's another manager we've got to win over. It's another, transition period that we've got to get through. But he's saying, I'm not going anywhere. You can't get me out of here, right? And that's a huge statement, considering that we don't know if the devil you don't know is better than the devil that's in the house. That's weird to call them devils because they're not devils. But they are red devils, right? But Erik ten Hag, I mean, when it comes down to it, who is going to take over for Erik ten Hag? And that we still do not know. Looking at Kieran McKenna from Ipswich.
Let me ask you so. Do you think Kieran McKenna, Thomas Tuchel, or Roberto De Zerbi would do a better job than Erik ten Hag?
See, that's the thing is, in the short term, potentially in the long term.
I think.
And
so.
I've been ten Hag's biggest critic.
I think De Zerbi would do a better job. I think so.
Yeah, I just don't know. The bigger question mark here is Ratcliffe and Ineos. That's the bigger question mark for me, because as we've seen with Barca, and Xavi and the 180 and the we love you but we also don't love you type of situation, I feel like that's kind of coming into motion right now at Manchester United, where we don't really know how Ratcliffe is going to run this place, right? True. And we don't know how much leverage or how much room the front office that they're building is going to influence the place, because a lot of them aren't even fully in place yet. So I'm going to be watching the managerial hire is huge, but watching Ratcliffe behind that is going to be bigger than that, I think. So I'm almost in the camp, Alex, of like giving Erik ten Hag another year, even though the last 3 to 4 months have been
inspired football.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But you know what? They lifted a trophy. That's the last game of the season. They get to go into the offseason thinking that they did something big, and they did. Their 13th FA Cup trophy. It had massive consequences. Manchester United is where now? They're in Europe. They are in Europe.
And
they
Chelsea's
are going to the Europa League. Exactly. I mean, it doesn't matter if you finished, 7th, 8th in the Premier League. They are in the Europa League.
It does, President. It matters to them to be 8th place. This is the thing. Despite Man United winning the FA Cup and last season getting Champions League football and winning a League Cup, this season, they were very, very poor. Very, very poor tactically. Agreed. And the big difference between Arteta and Erik ten Hag, it's, yes, Erik ten Hag has won more trophies. But with Arteta, you see the team building tactically. You see the awareness. You see how the team plays, the dynamics improving. So I disagree massively with the people that say Arteta, if you see Arteta's silverware and you compare it to Erik ten Hag, that's a warning sign. I disagree with that, because it gives assurities that he's going to stay Arteta at Arsenal until he wins that silverware. Erik ten Hag now, you don't get that feeling. And honestly, this is a bit of a conspiracy here. I honestly think Erik ten Hag last week already knew that he was not going to stay at Man United. You could see the way he was even speaking after this game. It's like he knew something was coming. And he even says it. Erik ten Hag states, I'm going to win trophies here or elsewhere. So that means in his mind, he is ready to leave. And I'd be ready to leave Man United if I finished 8th. If I played in Champions League football with my team the way I did okay? Because they were shambolic in Europe's biggest stage, the Champions League. Ronaldo carried them when he was there.
I do have to ask you, if that defense, because I know Ten Hag talks about this quite frequently, and I understand it to a respect.
Yes.
But if Ten Hag had his full choice back four all season, how much better do you think Manchester United would be in the Premier League table?
With Lisandro Martinez there, with Varane playing,
with Luke Shaw.
Is this choice to have Varane there? I really don't know. I really don't know.
Well, I guess that's a question. But with Lisandro Martinez and Luke Shaw in full form, in full, no injuries whatsoever, what do you think? That's probably at least top 5.
It's like, when have we seen Luke Shaw not have injuries in a season? That's literally why they brought Malacia, which was a choice of Erik ten Hag. It was looking good for starters. But then, what happened? I just get really frustrated when I see Erik ten Hag saying, I don't pick transfers. When we see Onana, when we see Lisandro Martinez, when we see Anthony, when we see so many transfers that you just see it. You just see it was Erik ten Hag having a touch there. So I disagree with him massively that it's the project. We need to give time. I do believe we have to give time, but we got to see results improving. And from one season to the other, it went down a lot. But positive notes, just wanted to end on positive notes, not to be only bad, since they won an FA Cup, which is massive with the team that they have, in my view, against City. Dalot was awarded the player of the season from the players, and Bruno Fernandes was awarded the player of the season by the fans. I love to see both players getting the respect that they deserve. Diogo Dalot can play on both sides. What a signing he was when Jose Mourinho was there for 20 million. And Bruno Fernandes is a world-class player when he is played the right way, as we saw. Whatever happens in the future with Man United, I hope that these two players stay at the club, because I really believe Dalot and Bruno love Man United, okay? I really do believe they'd love to be Red Devils. But it's been a good one, and let us know your thoughts, okay? Because Man United beats a team that in the Premier League has won the Premier League 4 times in a row, okay? That is massive upset that we weren't expecting. And do you think McKenna, Tuchel, De Zerbi, who's going to be the next manager if there's going to be a new manager next season at Man United? That I believe that will be the case. And since we're going to have a final next week, okay, a big final, we just want to give our final predictions of the Champions League final. And I got to start with, it's always sad with seeing that that's going to be the last game played by Toni Kroos with a Real Madrid shirt, okay? The retirement has been announced. One of the best midfielders I've ever seen. A midfielder that is going to be in 7 finals of the Champions League. This is massive, and could have the chance of winning 6 Champions League in his career. A winner, one of the most efficient midfielders I've seen too. And he didn't miss, Toni Kroos didn't miss a pass for 8 months. 8 months. Ridiculous. That is German efficiency in full effect for a football player. And with him returning to the German national team, playing in home soil, of course, they are contenders to win it with Vincent Musiala. It's Toni Kroos effect. Toni Kroos effect. But in the final.
It is.
How are we feeling
but in the final. Oh my. Well, as we started out this podcast, this week has been transformational in people's thought. And as you had poignantly laid out in the FA Cup, Manchester United beating Manchester City before this was seen as potentially being a bigger upset than if Borussia Dortmund beat Real Madrid. And now this is a one-off, and Real Madrid will be out without Tchouaméni. We also watched Bayer Leverkusen not just get beat, but beat handily by Gasparini's Atalanta. So now we're looking at a situation where, Dortmund might be a upset, might be the underdog heavily, but understandably so. The betting odds are improving a little more in their favor, just based on this. So based on Dortmund in the Champions League, completely exorcising the whole Bundesliga season where they underperformed.
Mm-hmm.
They have really good defense at this moment in time in the Champions League. But is that going to disrupt Rodrigo,
Mm-hmm.
Jude Bellingham, Eduardo Camavinga? Is it going to upset the Vinicius Juniors of the world?
Mm-hmm.
I still can't see a way through it, Alex. So Real Madrid will win this, but it will be very close. It will be, I think there might even be a shock first goal by Dortmund, followed by a Real Madrid remontada, as we've seen previously. But that's it. I gotta stick to the guns here. Say Real Madrid's gonna win this thing, even after we watch Giants in Bayer Leverkusen get slaughtered, and we watch Giants in Manchester City in the FA Cup in just the last 5 days. I'm sorry, get slaughtered. This could be another Goliath going down.
It could be. And in Terzic, though, we have our reluctancies towards saying things like that. At least I think you do have. But it's true.
He's no Gasparini.
Exactly,
no Gasparini.
Exactly. But you said it. The path of Dortmund towards getting to this final is magnificent. Okay, in the Champions League, they had the group of death at the beginning of the competition. They went through a PSG. They went through an Atletico de Madrid. Tough teams in this season. Okay. And yeah, they deserve totally the position that they're in. Sancho, Ian Maatsen, good transfers done. Loan transfers in this case. Mats Hummels, that doesn't get selected for Germany. Yep. He has 2 man-of-the-match performances against PSG. He could go bold in Wembley. We could see an historic game by Mats Hummels. Marco Reus that could leave in his last game winning a Champions League. It's just so bold. It's Toni Kroos and Marco Reus's last matches in both teams. It's wow. We're gonna witness history. We're gonna witness history. And too, let's be honest, Breton. If Real Madrid does not win the Champions League, there goes Jude Bellingham and Vinicius Junior's chances towards winning the Ballon d'Or. And Kylian Mbappe will be massively happy because he has the chance to win it with France winning the Euros. And for PSG, Mbappe has 308 games, 256 goals, 95 assists, 15 titles, and he will be remembered as the best PSG player in their history. I'm sure he wants to leave with a Ballon d'Or win. That's why he will go to Real Madrid. But going back to what I was saying, I'm going to put my bets on Real. I think Real Madrid is going to win this game. The resilience, the 15th is going to happen because Vinicius, Jude, the locker room is just fixed in. And mentioning the difference between Real Madrid and Man United, because the magnitude of both in terms of commercial base, I'm not going to say they're similar, but they do range the whole entirety of this world, okay? But the main difference is, you see this season Ancelotti, and you see this season with Erik Ten Hag, both had injuries consistently with key players. But Ancelotti, regardless of that, he ends with 1 loss in La Liga, and he is in this final because of the strong group that he's connected and the team that he can build like the Christmas tree. He can put Vinicius, he can put Rodrigo, he can put Jude Bellingham, he can put his best stars playing in the best team. So I'm really gonna give a big prediction towards Real Madrid winning this game in the Champions League final because I want to see Toni Kroos winning it in his last game for Real Madrid. The last game in the Bernabeu was like, I'm happy they didn't lose, okay, to Betis. 0-0, okay? That would have been tragic.
And I'm also happy that they didn't lose any players to injury. But the only big update here is that Aurelien Tchouameni will not be part of this. Obviously, we've said that name previously in terms of absences, so it's not something that they haven't prepared for. But on the other side of things, Dortmund has nothing to lose.
True.
Dortmund has, I wouldn't say equal support, but has some of the craziest support and most rabid support on this planet. True. On this planet in all of world football, right? And this is a chance. This is the first chance they've gotten since the 2-1 loss to Bayern at the exact same location. And I'm not talking myself into a Dortmund win, but there is a reality where they do exactly what Atalanta did to Leverkusen. There is a reality where Julian Brandt puts one from 20 yards out where Adeyemi gets clear behind, where they poke and prod and they actually get a goal or two, and they can hold on because their defense has been stout.
There is a
But
chance.
it's just a difference between Bayer Leverkusen not having necessarily been to a Europa League final, playing for something of that nature. They're just coming off of their first ever Bundesliga title win. And Real Madrid, it's muscle memory. They've been here before, right? So I don't think they're going to get blitzed like that. I don't think it's going to happen that way. But man, the narratives, the stories that would come out of this, Sebastian Haller, you've got Julian Brandt at his best, could have played for a top 5 club in the world, right? When he was at his absolute best, okay? He has shown glimmers of that multiple times this season. Why not in the Champions League final? And Mats Hummels obviously has been there before. He's done it. So I would love it if it kind of continued, but I still think it's going to wind up with a Real Madrid 2-1 win. That's what I'm going for.
Extra time, or is it going to be in the full 90 minutes? Do we believe penalties could come?
You know what? Screw it. Extra time. I think it's going to be one in extra time. I do think Dortmund's going to put up one hell of a fight.
And this is the prediction. Since Rashford scored in the FA Cup final, and he was not selected by Sancho. No, exactly. Sorry, since Rashford scored in the FA Cup final, and he was not selected by Southgate, maybe we could see in another final Jadon Sancho scoring, and he wasn't selected by Southgate too. That would be interesting to see. But let us know down below. Will it be Vinicius Jr.? Will it be Jadon Sancho? Will it be Füllkrug, the striker of Dortmund? Let us know in the comment section, and like this video for more short videos just like this here at FC Wonderkid. A la Madrid! Come on! But yes! Wow, you mentioned a final. This is obviously we're at the end of the season. Finals are inevitable, and Gasperini showed that he is a tremendous veteran manager by beating the way he did Bayer Leverkusen with this Atalanta team. The first European final of Atalanta in their history, and their first win. Gasperini ball. And to get to that final, they beat Sporting at home. They're the only team this season that beat Sporting in their home. They beat Liverpool, and now they beat the team that hadn't even lost this season, Bayer
51
Leverkusen.
games.
51 games, and Gasperini broke this record with the defense man-to-man tactics that those players of Atalanta couldn't stop 1 second, okay? They had to be constantly on top of those players because he's man-marking one-on-one the players that they were marking, okay? It's mad to see that style of play defensively, okay? And the brilliance of Lookman. Come on, the brilliance.
My gosh. London born and raised, if I'm not mistaken. Charlton Athletic started out and then made his way. Yeah. Made his way all over the place and never really found a home. I think the most at home he ever felt was on loan at RB Leipzig, where he had a heck of a showing that earned him the ultimate move from Everton to Leipzig, but it then didn't kind of progress beyond that. He had a pretty topsy-turvy time. If I'm not mistaken, was Jesse Marsch the coach then? I can't remember. But Ademola Lookman, I mean, what a story. And it is down to Gasperini, because every one of these guys that Gasperini is kind of man-managed, right? It's like a chef's kiss. Ademola Lookman, at his best, at his absolute best, being the first ever to score a hat trick in the Europa League final. Only 26 years old, now representing Nigeria, has come a long way and has now found a home in Bergamo. But you also had Gianluca Scamacca. You also had Charles de Ketelaere playing decent. Oh, Coop Miners, playing decent football, good enough to win. And I told you, although I was not bold enough to say that Atalanta would win the game, but I did say that their best pathway to win was to blitz right, Bayer Leverkusen early on and dig them a hole that they just could not get out of.
Yes.
And that's exactly what happened. Because we've seen it multiple times in the Europa League pathway. We saw them go down 2-0 or 1-0, and they kept getting saved by Patrick Schick, or they were getting saved by Florian Wirtz. But when it all came down to it, 3-0, you're not overcoming that in the final. You're just not overcoming that in the final. So it was. We've got to remember, Ademola Lookman not just showed up in the final. He also had a goal and an assist in that second leg win, semifinal leg win over Marseille. So this is not some phenomenon. Hey, we'll remember him forever because of his Europa League final. This guy has 30 goals, 16 assists in only 40 or 50 starts for Atalanta. So he's been doing it for a while now, and Gasperini deserves his day in the sun for this. And I loved. I know the story would be better if Bayer Leverkusen remained unbeaten. I know it would be one for the record books, of course. But Atalanta winning this, you could feel it in your bones. And I only wish I wasn't a big enough coward to say Atalanta was going to win this.
Not a coward, mate. Xabi Alonso, what he was doing, it's historic too.
No.
And going with what you said with Lookman, you said it was Bretson just stated it was the first hat-trick, okay, in an Europa League final. It was also the 17th time in the history of the newspaper, L'Équipe, that they gave a 10 out of 10 rating to a player in a match. And it was to Ademola Lookman against this historic Bayer Leverkusen team that only lost once this season. But Leverkusen, they could have lost this weekend, but they didn't, with one man down. But they were winning 1-0, okay? And just one side notes, I do believe that yellow card in Florian Wirtz in the first half was detrimental. Okay? The intensity he was in duels. He was a very different player in that second half, and it's a lot because of the defensive work that Kobbie Mainoo and Marterun had in that game. But Bayern Leverkusen this season, they won the double. Their fourth title ever in their history. 2 titles in one season with Xabi Alonso. Unreal. And I am sure next season, this Leverkusen team are the favorites to win the Bundesliga. I don't believe Xhaka leaves. I don't believe Grimaldo leaves. I don't believe Wirtz leaves. I believe the key players of this team will stay and will want to make history in the Bundesliga and Champions League with Xabi Alonso. Only one defeat. How many times have we seen in a season a team have only one defeat? So people, don't discredit what Xabi Alonso did with Bayer Leverkusen, because they hadn't even won a Bundesliga title in their history.
I know.
They did.
And that's only their second DFB Pokal win, too.
Exactly.
And their last one was 30 plus years ago.
120 years, mate. Like, what?
It's insane. But there is a team that is doing what Bayer Leverkusen is doing right now. They're just over in Saudi Arabia. Al Hilal has one more game before they do the Invincibles. But this is a really, really tangential way for me to applaud actually Al Hilal, not Al Hilal, but the winners of the AFC Champions League. Al Ain, I believe is how you pronounce it, from the UAE. Only their second. They're the only UAE team ever to win the Champions League. This is their second win. And I just have to throw it out there to you. They had to beat, I don't know if they beat Al Hilal head-to-head, but they had to beat Al Nassr to do that, which is pretty impressive, with guys that probably a lot of us haven't heard of. But do you know who the manager is who just won his first major continental trophy? He did win Copa Sudamericana. But do you know who the manager of El Ain is, the new AFC Champions League champion?
Can you let me know?
Okay. He's Argentinian. Former, let's see, who did he play for? He played for Chelsea. He played for a lot of other teams. It's Hernan Crespo. 40, what is he, 48 now? Hernan Crespo is the boss of El Ain. And he won that. He won the title.
Big
the AFC
respect.
Champions League.
Big respect to Al Ain to make history and to have, just like Dortmund, they had a difficult path towards getting to the final. Al Hain too, and they did beat the adversity. But going back to
Yes, they did.
Leverkusen, because I
Yes.
do agree that we have to talk about AFC Champions League too. But Leverkusen, the talk now is in the Bundesliga. We got a new manager in town in the Bundesliga. Kompany costs 12 million to the Bavarians, and he's gonna stay until 2027. So, will Vincent Kompany have the style of play, have the charisma, have the aura to dethrone a Bayer Leverkusen that seems like they are going to just go crazy next season in the Bundesliga? Do you believe in that?
I mean,
'Cause
I just don't
put my
understand
chips
how.
on
I don't
Leverkusen
understand.
still.
Yeah, I do. I do too. I just don't understand how a man is able to fail upwards in this. Like, do we have to call Vincent Kompany the Maratha of management? How is this? How is this possible?
No,
Now,
he
this
does
could,
have a
but
good
Alex,
modern style of play, Breton. He's good.
I 100% agree.
I
with
just think Vincent Kompany at Burnley was highly ambitious for what he wanted to
I
implement on the pitch. A modern tactics. Like Sean Dyche would maybe work out better in the Premier League with Burnley, but Kompany.
Yeah.
But I don't think Sean Dyche would work out better at Bayern Munich than Vincent Kompany.
No.
So,
But it is further approval, but it's further proof that Bayern has lost their DNA in that sense, right? Because this would not be a hiring that I don't know, man. I mean, this would not ever happen, right? In the last 10, 12 years. They're trying to kind of pull a card out of the Bayer Leverkusen book by plucking a Xabi Alonso from Real Sociedad's reserves, right? And pulling him upwards. But Bayer Leverkusen had to do something well, it is kind of irrational, right? Put somebody with modern ideas, put somebody young in charge, put somebody that knows how to manage, put somebody that's also a legend of the game. But that's because they've never won it before.
Exactly.
They had never won the Bundesliga. But you're now looking at Bayern, and Bayern's now doing the exact same thing. After running through Thomas Tuchel, after running through Nagelsmann, after promoting with Hansi Flick and discarding him because of issues with with management. I mean, it just reeks of non-Bayern thought, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a good thing.
Look, Bretson, I really have this belief. I truly believe Xabi Alonso one day his dream is to manage Real Madrid. And I truly believe Vincent Kompany's dream is to one day manage Man City. And if he's going to manage this Man City team that is making history, one of the best English teams I've ever seen in my lifetime, he has to be a manager that can make history with Bayern Munich at this given stage with the team that they have. So I think it's a test. Okay, it's a test not just for Vincent Kompany, but for Bayern Munich. And do 100%. I believe he has what it takes, Vincent Kompany, to win at Bayern Munich? I do. But have I seen it? No. So it's a see it, believe it type thing that I want to see. But I do believe they have the team to make history with Vincent Kompany. And Guardiola too. Guardiola stated that Kompany will be a future manager of Man City. Mark my words. And if Guardiola believes he will be that future manager of Man City, Kompany will have to be succeeding with the Bavarians. And succeeding with the Bavarians is winning the Bundesliga with Leverkusen, and it's certainly minimal expectations, semi-finals of the Champions League. Because this team likes to win silverware in European competitions. And another fact, interesting fact, is another disciple of Guardiola. Another disciple of Guardiola we see in top management. It's Xavi, it's Arteta, it's Xabi Alonso, and it's now Kompany. So it's just beautiful to see the influence that Guardiola has had at the highest level of football. And it's Xabi Alonso versus Kompany in the Bundesliga. I believe it's going to be neck and neck next season in the Bundesliga. People overhate Kompany for what he did this season with Burnley. But people has to look at what he has.
I don't overhate. Not with that.
Not you.
Obviously,
people.
No. But right. But Vincent Kompany, I feel bad for Burnley. I feel bad for JJ Watt. No, just kidding. Part of the ownership group there, thinking that they might actually keep him, which is probably irrational to think that anyway. No. But This managerial hire very clearly does not happen
Mhm.
if Bayer Leverkusen did not have the almost unstoppable, not almost, the invincible season that they had within the Bundesliga. It is causing Bayern to think differently. And whether or not that works out is going to obviously be us, dipping into our popcorn, stuffing it in our mouth, watching the show that unfolds before us. I am damn interested in seeing what Vincent Kompany can do. But I think there are also many more managers out there that they could have gone for that probably have a better CV.
Do you think
than
that
Vincent
Xabi would
Kompany.
be better for Bayern Munich than Vincent Kompany?
Mm,
That's a name.
yeah, it is a name. It is a name. I do. I do. I mean, they want Hansi Flick, but everybody's basically been saying no to him. I mean, everyone's been saying Bayern. So we're down to 6th or 7th within the barrel, correct?
Agree.
Maybe
4th, not 6th or 7th, yes. And in going with what you said, completing it's Bayern Munich, go for Vincent Kompany. But beforehand, they tried Xabi Alonso. They got the refusal.
Yep.
They tried Nagelsmann. They tried Ralf Ragnick. They got the Oliver Glasner. You got to pay 100 million. And they even tried to convince Thomas Tuchel to stay at Bayern Munich before they got Kompany. So it's pressure towards Vincent Kompany because, yes, he has to change not just the mood, the culture of this Bayern team of last season, okay? They have to go to this season believing that they can make history. And I believe that it was a good appointment for what they had in the market, okay? Ruben Amorim, I always go back to Ruben, but I believe Ruben will stay at Sporting another season. I think he's not in the job market. I think Thiago Motta with Juve. There's a lot of projects that are aligning with the right managers in other sense, because Jan Toli and Thiago Motta, that is going to go extremely well. But yes, let us know your thoughts about, can Kompany overthrow this Bayer Leverkusen? Are your thoughts about the Europa League final? And give us predictions of transfers that you will believe will happen with Xabi Alonso's Leverkusen and Bayern Munich's Kompany now, okay? Because I do believe it's going to be a big transfer market for both teams. And don't forget to like this video until now. I told you, people, if you're listening until now, this podcast was gonna be very good in terms of topics because everything is happening right now. Everything is happening. And when I say everything is happening, Xavi is now sacked of Barcelona with 1 game in hand, okay? He still's gonna play Sevilla. How awkward is Xavi going to be in that press conference, okay? He's going to have to confront media after this poor decision of Laporta. But starting this, Laporta went bold. Did he go bold the right way? I seriously don't know, because Hansi Flick's decision to become the new Bayern. You see, I could even my subconscious saying Bayern Munich with Hansi Flick, but this new decision of Hansi Flick becoming the Barca manager is clearly a Laporta decision. And honestly, for me, it's an alarm bell sign when Laporta cries, 3 weeks ago, because Xavi stays, and now Laporta, the same man, says, no more Xavi, let's get Hansi Flick. It shows that this is ups and downs constantly, not a constant, like you'd say with Florentino Perez, knowing what he's going to do 3 years in advance. I don't get that feeling with Laporta, because obviously the structure and the fundamentals of Barca are very different of Real Madrid. But I don't like it. No. I don't like what I'm seeing.
No, it's pretty clear Laporta wants a company man, somebody to be influenced, if you will. The weird thing is thinking that Hansi Flick is going to be that company man. I mean, yes, Hansi Flick was a very loyal assistant to Germany, to Jogi Löw when they won the World Cup. Yes, he was an assistant at Bayern previous to getting promoted from within, but he was also pushed out, if I'm not mistaken. Everyone, please correct me if I'm wrong, but he was pushed out due to differences, just like Nagelsmann after him was pushed out the exact same way due to differences with guys like Kahn, who are no longer there, and the other guy with a really long last name who I'm not even going to attempt within my sickness to be able to say that. But in the end, like Hansi Flick, it just feels like I don't know what Laporta's expecting here. I don't think Deco's on the same page. I think Deco wants somebody different. I think he wants to promote from within, or he might want to go from within La Liga. But here we've got Hansi Flick coming in. And the only thing that I think that this is good for is all the youngsters. I think Hansi Flick is going to play the heck out of an Alejandro Balde when he's healthy again. I think he's going to play the heck out of Fermin Lopez, who had a nice breakout season. Vitor Roque is definitely going to play more of a role because I don't think Lewandowski, as good as he was under Hansi Flick in 2019-2020, I don't think he's ready to press the way he used to. He's 4 years older now. So Vitor Roque, I think, definitely has a future. So in the end, looking at the football, whether or not that translates to a La Liga title, I don't know. But certainly for FC Wonderkid purposes, I think we're going to be talking about names
I think
quite
Xavi's
frequently. I agree. But that's where I'm so weirded out by this decision. I think Laporta's just playing power trip because he can. And to be honest, I think he is just as much of a problem as he has been a bringer of success to the Barcelona brand. I think he is just as much a problem. It's 50-50. Honestly, it might even be more than that.
This Laporta decision of bringing Hansi Flick and the way he sacks Xavi, I really dislike it. 22 days after he's crying, he makes the decision.
I know.
I honestly think it's inevitable for Gerard Piqué to be the president of Barcelona. I think it's going to happen sooner than people expect. And only Piqué, I'm going to say this on camera, only Piqué, from what I see in my perspective, is the president to go against a Florentino Perez that his full ambition in life is to succeed at Real Madrid. He's a true Madridista. And Piqué is a true Blaugrana, okay? He has to be the president. I don't get that same feeling with Laporta. The feeling I get with Laporta right now is the decision of Hansi Flick is not just his. It's of 20 people in the board sitting making those calls because he's selling out the club with social media rights, with everything that I know the levers that you were very critical last summer of these economic levers that Barca is little by little giving themselves to investors. I'm sure these same investors must have had maybe just an opinion towards Xavi leaving Barcelona and going with.
But that's the thing is, Alex, I just don't understand how nothing that Xavi said was untrue, right? And it's almost better, I think, for the Barcelona brand long term if that type of transparency is seen as a good thing, right? All he was simply saying is we're not the financial behemoth we once was.
True.
Once were. And I don't see an issue with that, but I know Joan Laporta absolutely does see an issue with that because you're talking about your weakness. You're talking about your weakness. But the expectation that Barcelona is going to be able to even go out and say exercise Jeremy Frimpong's 40 million release clause, I mean, that's in question. And that is a saddled issue. That is something that any manager that comes in is going to have to deal with. And I can't imagine Hansi Flick just coming in and going like, okay, yeah, whatever you want. And he's just going to do it through a translator.
I agree.
That's it.
I completely agree. And for the people at home to get a perspective on Hansi Flick with Barcelona, Hansi Flick arrives at Barcelona. I believe he's going to play the 4-2-3-1 that he always was successful with Bayern Munich, okay? I think he's a better option than Rafa Marquez right now for what he did in that treble season in 2019-2020. Historic, and he's going to play a direct play, intense pressing, and yes, a way that we don't usually see vertically Barcelona play. More rushed, okay, in terms of decisions, and asking something that Barca players are not used to, how they're brought up playing academy football. And I was voicing this out 2 months ago. I believe that the next manager of Barca would have to play in this Barca style of play with tiki-taka. And Hansi Flick is not that. He's not that type of manager. So I am very curious towards the success that this man will have at Barcelona. But one thing's for sure. Hansi Flick arrives, and he has one of the best teams in the world in terms of youth players. Lamine Yamal, Pedri, Balde, Pau Cubarsí, Hector Fort, Xavi returning from injury. Vitor Roque, a new chance now to impress. This man has to be pressing non-stop off ball, okay, Vitor Roque? Because if he's going to play for Brazil one day, he's got to succeed at Barca. Hendrik will succeed. Evan Nilsson seems like he will succeed. And I'll even put Marcos Leonardo with Benfica. I think long-term he will succeed too. So Vitor Roque, it's now. It's now he's got to do something about it. Because
and
Girona too. Girona too, okay? And all this. Girona this season, 25 wins, 85 goals scored, 81 points in 114 possible, okay? This is their best ever campaign in their history, which deservedly, they're going to the Champions League. And to the top goal scorer of La Liga is a Girona player with Artem Dovbyk, the record signing for 7.5 million with 24 goals scored. Last game of the season, 7-0 win. 7-0 win. I was shocked, mate.
Crazy.
Shocked.
And Dovbyk and Saigankov, the Ukrainian duo, think about what these guys have been through, what they've done, right? The opportunity that laid before them in La Liga, and they both took it by storm. I mean, Saigankov, I think, had a couple assists in the last game, a goal himself, maybe. But Artem Dovbyk, pound for pound, man, 7.5 million euros, as you said. Obviously, that's going to be eclipsed this offseason for sure. But he also led in goal involvements. 24 goals, 8 assists in his first season in La Liga after barely having a season in the Ukrainian Premier Division previous to that due to what we all know as the Russia-Ukraine war. So to see that happen is pretty awesome. And I think Dovbyk is somebody what's going to happen, right? What is going to be, can Vitor Roque have a season like that for Barcelona next season, right?
I have doubts if he can score more than 20 La Liga goals. I'll put this out there. I think Hendrik, even though he's not a guaranteed starter at Real Madrid, he'll score more goals than Vitor Roque in La Liga next season.
I don't know. Well, another name I think will get promoted. I don't know. I mean, I'm up for any of those predictions right now. I will entertain them more fully as we get closer to the new season because we don't even know if Vitor Roque. I mean, the board might even go out and be like, "Well, no, we're done. Cut him. He's gone. Send him out on loan." But I do think Noah Darvish.
If that happens, they're gonna have poor relationships with the agent Andrew Curry, and Messinho for sure will go out of the table.
Yeah, he could. You're right.
So
you're right.
I think they have to move themselves in a way that they gotta be very, very careful. And Deku was an agent before being a sporting director. I'm sure he knows the consequences of Vitor Roque just going.
Burn those bridges. Burn those bridges.
He cannot do that.
Well, another name that I think will get promoted, and it's not just because he's German, but that will fit in Hansi Flick is I think the 3 million euro Noah Darvish. I think you'll see him get promoted. Mark Bernal, you might see get promoted. I would love if Hansi Flick. I think he'll pay for it long term if he puts too much of an emphasis on youth, because you do have Gundogan. You've got some players that obviously can do very well in Flick's system.
True.
But I would love to see guys like Noah Darvish, Mark Bernal get their chance, and I think they will. I really do think they will. But I am intrigued. Same bowl of popcorn I'm pulling out for Vincent Kompany at Bayern. I will have to pour on extra butter for watching this Barcelona team next season under Hansi Flick.
Against the Galacticos, the mighty Galacticos that have a Jude Bellingham, Kylian Mbappe reportedly coming. Oh, my days, and Vini and Rodrigo. That the team that's just inevitable, okay? This team is wonderful to see. Let us know your thoughts with Hansi Flick at Barcelona. And now, final topic. You people asked. Some people asked on TikTok. Portugal national team selection, okay? The squad is out. The 26 have been announced. And I'm not going to be one of those people that's going to be like, why isn't Trincão there? Why isn't Pot there? Why isn't Nuno Santos there? I understand Sporting won the league. Historically, they won the league by being the first team ever in Portuguese league football to score in every single fixture, 34. Historically, too, this was the league win that Sporting had most wins with 29, most points, okay? So many historic factors, but I still believe the squad that Roberto Martinez announced is a good enough squad towards me saying that Portugal are contenders to win Euro 2024. And if you don't believe that Portugal are contenders towards winning Euro 2024, you haven't seen the ascension of the Portuguese national team. Player for player, in 2016 and then now in 2024, we have a better national team. And this is a consequence of having the best academies in the world here in Portugal, with Sporting, with Porto, with Benfica, with Braga, developing a lot of players that we see now in the U17 European Championship. We see talent growing with Portugal. So I gotta be very optimistic towards our chances of winning silverware with Euro 2024. Oh, I get even nervous with it because it's difficult.
Yeah. It is. I mean, but there are no incredible surprises, right? In this pick.
I think Francisco Conceição is the biggest surprise of them all, because if Bernardo Silva is not playing on the pitch, I think the replacement will be directly Chico Conceição. And another shock too for people is Pedro Neto. Pedro Neto, since March, has 12 minutes played. Pedro Neto is being called up because he's one of the most talented wingers in the world of football. So I better see a reaction from Pedro Neto, because a lot of people are hating on him here in Portugal, saying Trincão should be there, Bot should be there instead. So Pedro Neto has to go bold if he's going to get a big move out of Wolves. Okay, he's one of the top in the Premier League, but he's injured a lot of times, consistently.
And since you just talked about Chico Conceição, is there any validity to the rumor that his dad might be leaving Porto?
There's validity in that rumor, yeah. I don't want to say too much because I do know a thing or two about this. But what I saw from the press conference that Sérgio Conceição gave yesterday, he said, if I'm going to leave Porto, it's my decision to leave Porto and to go anywhere else. So he's kind of saying that it's not Villas-Boas' decision, not the president's decision towards him staying. So if he's stating those type of things, I think he's going to leave, yes. But let's see, okay? But you talked about Sérgio Conceição. It's the last time since, it's not the last time, no. Sérgio Conceição was called up for Portugal in Euro 2024 back in the day. And now his son, Chico Conceição, is called up. So it's good to see that the talent lives on. And don't forget, from 2012 to 2017, Chico Conceição was in Sporting Academy. He developed at Sporting massively. It was very important for him to be those 5 years here in Lisbon at Sporting Clube Portugal. And one thing I gotta say, this Portugal national team squad is one of the best I've ever seen, and it's because of the experience mixed with the youth. Look at the generations that we have here. We have a Pepe and a Cristiano Ronaldo, and then we have a Ruben Dias, a Bernardo Silva, a Bruno Fernandes, different generations. And then we have the young guns, António Silva, Chico Conceição, João Neves, Gonçalo Inácio, Nuno Mendes. Like, there's so many youngsters that are going to learn from this experience with top world-class players. We're extremely lucky what we have. And until now, Roberto Martinez only lost one game for Portugal. And we were playing great football until that one loss, okay? It's inevitable. It happened. But when we lost, it was when we had already guaranteed our way through to the Euro 2024. So I'm very optimistic, Breton. I'm very optimistic, and I think I have to be.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's any reason not to be. It's a very good roster, and obviously I'm looking at the roster right now, and I'm seeing João Felix, right? What a ridiculously important summer it's going to be for him in terms of what his next step is going to be, because it's very likely that he's not headed back to Atleti, right?
I think so, yeah. He's not going to go back to Atletico de Madrid, no. He could. He's more likely to go to Barca than Atleti, maybe. But Barca
on loan again?
Money. Exactly.
No,
it has to be on loan again.
Interesting. Because that's João Felix. João Felix could play very well in Hansi Flick's system. So that's just another one I was looking at like, wow, okay. And then, you guys, Al Hilal and 2 Al Nassr players. So you've got Otavio, you've got Cristiano Ronaldo, and you've got Ruben Neves. Otavio, though, I have not tracked him that well. I'd imagine he's had a hell of a season.
Ahead of Matheus Nunes. The
Yeah.
City player. That, yes, he doesn't play every game for Man City, but every week, every day, he's got training sessions with Man City, and that's high level.
Interesting.
But in the past 3 years ago, we went quite viral saying the midfield of Portugal. We will be doing the same, okay? We will be doing the same before the Euro starts. But I want to state this. Right now, the midfield of Portugal, not going bold, just stating facts in this, it's Palhinha, Vitinha, and Bruno Fernandes. Vitinha has been the best player of PSG this season. Next to Kylian Mbappé, Luis Enrique even stated he's the best. Palhinha is one of the best CDMs in the world. And Bruno Fernandes, when he's in form, he's inevitable. He's one of the best midfielders in the world of football. He was the best player for Portugal in the last World Cup. He was the best player, and he showed world-class levels in that competition, okay? So, and I know this Euro 2024 is going to be full of world-class midfielders. Toni Kroos is going to go bold.
It will.
Florian Wirtz is going to go bold. Rodri with his first loss this season at Man City.
Goodness.
Surely for Spain, he's going to go bold. And we're going to have a Pedri that's going to be fully fit in this competition. And Szoboszlai, the captain of Hungary, he could surprise a lot of people. Xavi Simons.
Oh, sure.
So in terms of midfielders, I think Bruno Fernandes will be top 3 in this competition. This is a bold prediction for some, but for others, maybe not.
Well, it is rapidly approaching. We are less than a month. Yeah, less than a month away. When Portugal will take Czech Republic on. Their first game is June 18th in Leipzig versus Czech Republic. I think they'll be able to handle that one nicely. But my goodness, I can't wait for this. I do have to kind of say, João Neves is not your starting midfielder, which is understandable based on how Vitinha's second half of form. Not that those are like for like. But Palhinha over João Neves, you wouldn't put João Neves in for Palhinha?
I would like to see João Neves play next to a João Palhinha. The best João Neves I saw at Benfica this season was next to a Florentino Luis, a pure CDM. So I believe if he's going to play at Portugal at the best he can do, I think it's with Palhinha next to him. But I believe Vitinha, for the season he has had, I would give the chance to Vitinha because the level he showed. Like, I was watching PSG Barca in the Champions League, and I was thinking Vitinha is a midfielder of the DNA of Barca. And being coached by Luis Enrique, you can clearly see that development of thinking fast, aggressiveness. Like, defensively, Vitinha has improved massively this season, okay? Right. And the confidence to shoot that ball when he's got the chance, and occasionally it's going in right now. Vitinha could be perceived at the end of his career as one of the best Porto products ever. I think he's already top 5, okay, for what he's done, and he's still under 25. Wow. So he just needs to keep on going, and obviously making history with Portugal would accelerate this process of becoming a legend of Porto's academy, okay? And Cardoso Varela. I mentioned Rodrigo Mora at the beginning of this podcast. Cardoso Varela for the under-17s of Portugal. Hat-trick of assists against England. Another fantastic talent that Portugal have. 15 years old in the under-17 European Championship.
Bonkers.
And he had an hat-trick of assists against England. Wow.
Yep.
But England have good players. Chris Rigg, Moore, that left winger, Moore.
Mikey Moore. Yeah. Spurs in general, man, have had a pretty good last few months of scouting. Mikey Moore has obviously been a known quantity if you're looking at that youth academy. But on top of that, the ones that they've actually spent some money on, Luka Vuskovic had a good season in the Ekstraklasa. And then Lucas Bergvall has been phenomenal to start the Allsvenskan season at 18 years old for Djurgården. I mean, we're talking probably one of the more dominant midfielders right now at 18 in the Allsvenskan. Obviously, there's a lot of development that needs to happen here, but from 16, 17, 18 years old, those are 3 guys that could see Premier League time. I mean, Mikey Moore has already been in the Prem. already made 2 appearances at 16 years old, and he looks every bit at home. I think he actually did have a goal and an assist against Portugal.
He
I could
did.
be wrong.
He had a goal.
But then
No assist.
overshadowed, man.
No.
Overshadowed by that Portuguese team for sure. But he was instrumental against France. But that's why you got to watch these tournaments.
Exactly.
Some of these guys will rise to the top, and you will hear their names every day from here on out. And that's a lot of fun.
And surely you guys, if you clicked on this video, you believe, just like me, that Portugal have a chance towards winning Euro 2024. Let us know. Do you disagree with my take about Portugal? Who would you change in this selection, okay? Because lots of people have voiced out their criticism. And in future videos, in the next following weeks, before the tournament arrives, we will be posting our predictions, squad lineups, and what we agree, what we disagree of not every single national team, but the main national teams in this tournament. Thank you so much, community, for listening to episode 158 until now, and thank you for going bold with us here at FC Wonder Kid.